Sometimes, it's enough just to sleep on a decision. The morning often brings the answer. Act upon your gut feelings. Have the courage to follow your intuition even when it might make you stand out and appear odd. Questioning a decision can make you very unpopular. Remember, though, as a leader you're not trying to win a popularity contest. You're always trying to do the right thing even if you're in the minority. Share your feelings and concerns as soon as possible to avoid derailing a decision at the 11th hour. And also be ready to explain to your colleagues what you're sensing and feeling. 37. Don't neglect presentations. How you present to other people can make or break your business. Your leadership happens through communication, spending your time in meetings, writing emails, giving talks, on telephone and video conferences, and chatting with people all around you. You'll struggle to perform as a leader if you can't communicate and present well using all of your verbal and non-verbal communication skills. For most leaders, the hardest type of communication is having to stand up in front of others to make a presentation. I'm sure you've seen people struggling to present in public, choking on their words, sweating and even shaking, never looking at their audience, speaking too softly while trying to get through dozens of boring PowerPoint slides. Many people would love to avoid making presentations, preferring to speak in small groups and communicate over the phone, email or messenger. If you want to be a successful leader, however, you can't run away from presenting and must learn to do it well. In a 2016 survey by Prezi and Harris of 2,000 U.S. professionals, almost 70% stated that presentations are critical to their success at work and 75% felt that their presentation skills needed improving. You might be one of the lucky few who lights up and is a natural when standing on stage facing an audience, and for you making presentations may be straightforward and stress-free. Assuming you're not so fortunate, you need to be ready to hone your skills, build up your confidence and practice. You have no choice if you want to grow as a leader, because failing to do so can be detrimental to achieving your goals and to your career. A poor quality presentation can cause your audience to switch off, lose interest and not buy into your messages. Your reputation in your company might even fall as a result of a poor presentation. Put it into action. Present like an outstanding speaker. The good news is that presentation skills can be learnt and honed through practice, but it may take time depending upon your current level of confidence and skills. Happily, there are hundreds of talks available online, such as at www.ted.com. So you have easy access to watching and learning from outstanding presenters who have mastered key skills such as the following. Controlling body language. It needs to align with the aims of your presentation, and it mustn't act as a distraction. Look around at your audience, make eye contact and smile. Decide whether to sit or stand to present. If the latter, decide whether you will stand still or move around. How you look and act when speaking. This sends a message to your audience, so always give time and attention to your choice of clothes, shoes, grooming, makeup and jewelry. Showing confidence and demonstrating that you know your subject matter well. You can do this by practicing your presentation beforehand so that on the day you're more used to your content and can present more fluently. Projecting your voice so that everybody in the audience can hear you. It's always good to speak to the people at the back of the room so that your voice will carry. Knowing your audience in terms of their expectations, needs, opinions and likely questions. Following the mantra of less is more when deciding the length of your talk, its content, props to be used and the design and number of presentation slides and video clips. Giving your talk a clear structure. A good opening, in particular, can capture your audience's interest, and so can an impactful closing section. Winning over your audience. Creating an emotional connection by sharing appropriate personal stories, memories and other personal examples. 38. Own up when you're wrong. Apologizing is often viewed as a weakness, when in truth it's a strength. I hate to tell you, but you can never be a perfect leader. It's impossible to know and understand everything, to always communicate in an ideal way, or to make decisions and choices which are always 100% spot on. The best you can do is to continually try to act and say the right things, knowing that sometimes you'll succeed and at other times you'll fall short by making all manner of mistakes. No leader is perfect, and there will be many times when you do something wrong. You ignore a team member's good suggestions on how to solve a client's problem. only to discover that your own solution made the issue worse. You promise to revert to your chairperson with an answer to an important question and totally forget to do so. You insist that your recollection of a meeting's agreed action plan is correct, only to later realize that isn't. You insist on choosing who is promoted into a vacant job role, but this turns out to be a very poor choice and they have to be fired. A key measure of your leadership maturity and character is how you respond to your mistakes and setbacks. Too often, leaders will want to hide these mistakes or to blame others, claiming that it's not their fault. A truly successful leader demonstrates courage and humility by being honest and open enough to humbly admit that they were wrong, made a mistake, chose the incorrect direction, or used inappropriate words and actions. Be that person. Put it into action. Step up and be honest. You may be reluctant to admit your mistakes for fear of embarrassment and loss of face, thinking others will view you as being imperfect, weak, poorly prepared, or rash. Yes, they might think these things, but they will think much worse of you when they discover you were lying about your involvement in an issue. Put aside your ego and discomfort. Always come clean. Never delay acknowledging the obvious. Come clean with both yourself and with those impacted by your mistaken thinking or decision, and quickly and methodically plan with colleagues how you'll rectify the issue. You'll gain respect for being open-minded and not allowing your ego and stubbornness to get in the way of saying and doing what's right. Learn to apologize. Step up and say sorry that you were wrong. Do this in whatever way is most appropriate, which might be by email, during a team meeting, or in a larger town hall meeting. In addition to apologizing, give due credit and thanks to those who pointed out your mistake. Openly recognize those colleagues who earlier may have proposed the ideal insights or solutions, which you might have been guilty of overruling or ignoring. Listen to them more next time and pause before shooting them down. Move on positively. Learn from situations where you were wrong by reviewing your own mindset, assumptions and biases, as well as any relevant decision-making, information collation and brainstorming processes to decide what changes you need to make to avoid a repeat. 39. Empower your team. When never shown they are trusted and valued, people assume the worst and doubt themselves. Most employees want to feel empowered by being supported and encouraged to perform to their highest potential, by being given what they need so that they can achieve their goals without needing constant support, micromanagement and hand-holding. Successful leaders know this and always try to empower their teams so that each team member is given the decision-making authority and freedom to complete a project without constantly needing approvals and sign-offs from the boss, access to all information needed in order to complete their work without needing to constantly revert for help and advice, the full authority to hire their own team members and spend money up to agreed limits, the freedom to solve customer service and client issues without having to seek the boss's approval each time. The alternative to empowerment is a leader keeping all the control and authority, continually micromanaging the team and making all decisions for them. In such an environment, your staff will feel like birds being kept in a cage. Some of your lazier staff may be happy to leave you to make decisions for them, but most people will hate it and many will become demotivated, feel they aren't trusted and that they're prevented from being able to express and be themselves. They will stop trying and going the extra mile by no longer showing any initiative, ownership or creativity. More talented staff will often eventually resign. Put it into action. Give your team the freedom to act consciously. Step back. Leave your team the space to work independently, take ownership and feel trusted. Give your team the necessary written job descriptions, goals and processes which clearly show the degree of freedom and independence they have, e.g. in terms of decision-making and signing authority. When possible, delegate to them the full authority to complete their tasks rather than asking them to continually seek your verbal or written approval. Adhere to these boundaries. Don't be tempted to step in and micromanage a task you have delegated to them. This can really upset your team. Provide all needed resources to enable your team to complete their work independently, with all necessary resources including time, manpower, budgets, tools and equipment and so on. Brace yourself for ideas and suggestions coming from your empowered staff. It's inevitable that, when giving people freedom to act, you're also inviting them to share and to speak up. You must positively listen to their ideas and thank them for sharing. Although not micromanaging, be ready to step in when asked to provide any guidance, mentoring and feedback to your team members, particularly when they may be doing something for the first time or struggling with challenging parts of their work. Openly recognize your team's successes, achievements and results, which they've achieved without your active involvement. Feel proud that you have enabled your team to lead both themselves and their own work. 40. Don't neglect the small talk. Leadership is all about successfully interacting with people. Your networking and relationship building skills can make or break your leadership career. This is because your ability to perform as a leader depends on how well you interact with the right people. Maintaining a close connection and relationship with someone can have all kinds of positive consequences. Your bank manager might be more open to funding your new business ideas, a supplier might be more understanding of your temporary cash flow difficulties and let you delay a payment, your staff may feel more understood and valued by you and work that little bit more positively, shareholders and business partners might be more supportive of your vision and strategy. Such connections can prove invaluable when you're struggling, perhaps even making serious mistakes or failing to achieve your goals. And colleagues, and other stakeholders with whom you have a strong relationship, might be more open to helping you. There's no magic number of people that a leader should keep in contact with. The answer depends on your circumstances and on your personality. In any leadership role, there will always be a range of people with whom you should connect in order to achieve all your goals and aims. Some leaders will only need to focus on a small number of relationships, often just their business partner and few key staff. If you're a quiet, shy introvert, you may be uncomfortable connecting with more people than this. At the other extreme, an outgoing extrovert who loves meeting people might have hundreds of friends and acquaintances. But having a good relationship with someone is not determined by how often you speak together, but instead by factors such as what you have in common, how you're able to help and support each other, and how well you get on. If you worked closely with a colleague in the past, today you might only need to meet or speak with them once a year to maintain the close connection. Put it into action. Develop your own relationship building skills. You might be a natural communicator who is happy to walk up to strangers and make small talk. If not, you need to learn how to improve and master whatever skills are necessary to make sure that you build up and maintain important relationships. Perhaps you need to improve in overcoming your shyness, building up your low level of self-confidence, being more proactive in trying to connect with new people, understanding how to avoid losing touch with people. Create a stakeholder map. Draw up a list that contains the names of everyone with whom you need to have a working relationship in order to help you succeed as a leader. Known as a stakeholder map, your list will probably be a combination of colleagues, mentors, clients, partners, investors, shareholders, suppliers, key staff, past classmates and other contacts. By each person's name, write a note explaining why you wish to maintain a relationship with them, such as, because they're senior in my organization, or, because they're well connected to many of my other stakeholders. This is a list that you can keep editing and adding to over time. Decide how to maintain the relationships for each person. Note the possible ways in which it's practical to keep in touch. This might vary from seeing them each day in your office, meeting for a monthly lunch, having a drink on an ad hoc basis, speaking via WhatsApp, meeting when you travel on business, or at an annual alumni event or industry conference. Be systematic in maintaining this to-do list of when and where you'll connect with each person. 41. Delegate well. Only a workaholic superhero is daft enough to do everything themselves. Delegation is a really powerful tool to help you succeed in any leadership role. It seems simple to do but is actually extremely difficult to do well. Every day, you have various tasks that need completing. Your challenge is to decide who does what. If you do it yourself, you risk becoming burdened and have no time to perform your other leadership responsibilities. You might be tempted to always delegate tasks to your most able and experienced staff. This might sometimes be best but not always, because, as a leader, you need to balance two competing needs. To have the work done well through having the most skilled staff completing it in as little time and with as little effort as possible. To develop and motivate less experienced staff by giving them new tasks to help them master and expand their areas of expertise. If you only delegate to experienced people, you face two risks. Those individuals become overloaded and demotivated, and over time they may even resign. Your other team members might feel jealous about your perceived favoritism and upset because they never gain the experience and exposure that comes from undertaking those challenging tasks. Put it into action. Change your delegation patterns. Create an ideal balance between keeping some tasks and delegating others to your experienced and less experienced team members. Why stop there? You may even be able to push some work to other colleagues, perhaps even including your boss. Don't delegate tasks to the same few people in your team. Instead, give others the opportunity to learn by taking on this work, recognizing that they may initially struggle. You may need to have a mindset change, away from purely focusing on task completion, and learn to also focus on growing people's capabilities. Try rotating who you delegate to by giving different people, each week or month, the opportunity to complete certain tasks, particularly those popular and easier tasks, as well as those that are tedious and boring. Stop doing things yourself, because you feel it's quicker and easier. Accept that in the short term it might be more time-consuming to delegate tasks because you need to brief the other person and even help them. But over time, as your team becomes more multi-skilled, you'll be able to pass them work without the need for long explanations or hand-holding. Know your team members' strengths, areas of interest, preferences and development needs. With this knowledge, try to make sure that the tasks you delegate to each person are aligned with their wants and needs. Beware of always delegating the dirty jobs to your team just because you don't wish to work on these boring, tedious or complicated tasks yourself. This is not a healthy leadership habit and is unlikely to make your team feel good about working under you. Take your share of the drudgery. 42. Indulge your childlike curiosity. Every leader needs to become an open-minded explorer. In today's fast-changing and increasingly complex world, you can never have all the answers. Fortunately, no one is expecting you to be a leader who knows everything. They are, however, looking to you to lead in finding the most suitable solutions. You're expected to act like a scientist who conducts research and experiments to explore how to improve performance, solve problems or understand why something is happening. A successful leader can appear like a young child who, naturally creative and open-minded, delights in discovering new and previously unknown insights and experiences. An IBM Global CEO survey in 2012 collected the views of 1,500 CEOs and found that creativity was the key skill needed to build successful businesses, even more important than qualities such as global thinking and integrity. To foster and enable such creativity takes a combination of you having the right mindset, while creating an environment that enables your colleagues' creativity. Leaders such as Richard Branson, Jack Ma and Mark Zuckerberg come to mind as well-known examples of such creative leaders who are very open-minded and flexible, and don't stubbornly stick to one idea or direction in the face of better suggestions. They like to try out new ideas, to let their teams run with untried solutions while never viewing any dead ends as wasted effort and a failure, but instead as learning opportunities. Put it into action. Walk your talk. It's not enough to say that you value and want more creativity and experimentation. The true measure of success comes from whether your staff actually feel they have the space and support to challenge the status quo. Allow your teams to pursue innovative and creative solutions without fearing dire consequences if their efforts fail to yield positive results. You can help create such an environment in a number of ways. In team meetings, regularly ask your team if they have alternative solutions and ideas to those on the table. Do this before making any key decisions such as approving a choice of new supplier, a new process, revised organogram or a product solution to meet a client's needs. Celebrate as many examples as possible of your employees showing creativity. Do this even when their efforts don't lead to wonderful results that can easily be acted upon. Provide the tools and resources your teams need to be creative. This might be as simple as giving them full access to the internet, rather than blocking or filtering apps or web pages for reasons of security or productivity. Support the growth of informal sharing networks within your company, which might include colleagues using online platforms in which they share issues and ideas. Run creativity competitions. Challenge your team or entire organization to suggest ways in which undertaking a particular task or achieving a certain goal can be improved. Invite people to share their ideas no matter how crazy or weird these may appear at first glance. Remember that sometimes a groundbreaking new discovery might have started out as an unusual or unexpected idea. The competition does not need formal prizes, although incentives can really motivate people. As a minimum, be ready to publicly acknowledge and thank people for their contributions. 43. Get your hands dirty. There are times when a leader must jump into the muddy trenches too. Support their team. Leadership is never about staying in the same place. It's most definitely not about remaining in your corner office while your team toil away at their workstations. Sometimes you must lead from the front and be with your teams of salespeople, engineers, trainee lawyers, bookkeepers, security staff, 0 hours contract staff, or shop floor workers. Too many leaders make excuses for not getting involved in this way. I don't want to be accused of micromanaging my team. I delegated all the work to my team, and they are taking full responsibility. It's not my role to perform their tasks with them. It's beneath me to get involved in the nitty-gritty. My team don't need me to help them. I should be focusing my time on higher level and more strategic tasks. Spending time with and supporting your team members while they're working is an essential role of any successful leader. The benefits include understanding firsthand the difficulties and challenges facing your team, allowing you to better bond and collaborate with your team members, helping you see things from your team members' perspectives, consciously putting your employees first and showing them respect, providing new insights into how efficiency could be improved, motivating and engaging your employees, particularly when they see you rolling up your sleeves and helping them with new and challenging tasks. Rolling up your sleeves also sends a clear message to other leaders with whom you work, encouraging them to learn from and emulate your leadership style. It also serves as a reminder that so much of your organization's success is the result of the commitment and dedication of all your staff, who spend each day facing the customers, manning production lines and doing other essential tasks. Put it into action. Support, but don't micromanage. The secret is to spend time with your team, while not becoming a burden through either distracting them from completing their tasks or inappropriately micromanaging them. This is not easy. Simply standing by or sitting with your staff can be off-putting and make them feel that they're being monitored. To minimize this, aim to spend time on the shop floor when you know your team may welcome the extra input. This might be when they're implementing a new process, kicking off a new piece of work, or facing a client crisis. Plan ahead. Ask your team, in a team meeting, when they might welcome your help. If you appear on the shop floor out of the blue, your staff may worry what is wrong, but if you make this a regular habit, they will become more comfortable with your presence. Your team may assume that you're offering to help them in order to check and review what they're doing. Be open and honest about your intentions. Even if you're not aiming to audit their work, given your wider experience, you may spot mistakes and ways of doing things better. The secret is to not rush to criticize or to make an employee feel inadequate because they missed something that you just spotted. Try spending more time with those working a level beneath your direct reports, the level who are sometimes referred to as your N2s. You could do this through skip-level meetings, where you meet these N2s without your direct reports being present. The risk is that your direct reports may feel threatened by this. Reassure them that you simply want to better understand their staff, including their work challenges and needs. 44. Develop your successors. The true measure of any leader is their gardening skills. How well do they nurture and grow new leaders, enabling them to blossom and flourish? Creating new leaders should be high up on your to-do list. Just as you were nurtured and prepared for your own leadership opportunities, today's potential leaders now need your care and attention. This is an essential task for any successful leader and was confirmed by the results of the Global Leadership Forecast 2018 survey by Ernst & Young, DDI, and the Conference Board, in which 64% of the surveyed leaders stated that developing their next generation of leaders was one of their top 5 challenges. As your business grows in size, it will need more leaders at all levels, and you must never assume that this is the sole responsibility of your human resources department. It takes a concerted and strategic effort by all leaders to create a large enough pool of leadership talent, and you're best placed to lead in developing new leaders in your own department and job function. As well as helping your company's future growth, Focusing on nurturing and grooming new leaders can have a positive impact on your own career. As an example, you may be missing out on potential job promotions if there are no candidates ready to replace you in your current role. You may also be given lower performance ratings if you're not successfully developing leadership talent within your own team. Put it into action. Create a leadership pipeline. The key is to have a talent pipeline mentality where you're constantly on the lookout for new and emerging leadership talent and are helping them to grow and rise within your team and organization. Invest more of your time and energy in recruiting new staff with potential leadership skills. When interviewing candidates for any positions, look at each person's future potential. Can they grow into any kinds of leadership positions, leading people, projects, businesses, or perhaps purely technical leadership? Aim to hire only those individuals who will perform their individual and team roles well, while also having the makings of a future leader. Hire and develop people who will be even better than you as a leader. Never be threatened by this possibility. Just imagine how amazing your team would perform if it were filled with such talented individuals. Understand a team member's leadership potential through observing their personality, attitude, and mindset. Look out for generic leadership traits such as initiative, self-responsibility, and courage, and so on. Help your existing team members to develop their own leadership styles and confidence, through mentoring them and allowing them to take on some of your leadership tasks such as chairing certain meetings and leading particular projects. After they have tried their hand at leading these tasks, give them some developmental feedback to help them grow their leadership capabilities. Not everyone wants to lead. You might want to be a leader, but not everyone does or is suited to managing people, projects, or businesses. When creating a leadership development program and pipeline, be careful not to give the impression to your team that the only measure of success is to be keen and capable of becoming a future leader. 45. Drive for results. Simply having great ideas and intentions is not enough to ensure success. A successful leader knows that their primary role is to achieve some clearly stated goals, no matter the obstacles and hurdles. A project manager must complete a project on time, within financial budgets, and meeting specific quality targets. A sales department head must meet sales revenue targets along with goals relating to acquiring new clients. Achieving certain profit margins on sales and growing the sales team. An entrepreneur will have goals such as getting a new product into the market or surviving on available cash flow during an initial startup phase. A head of a charity might have fundraising goals as well as targets linked to the charity's aims, such as feeding a certain number of homeless people. Successful leaders don't just achieve their goals but also aim to exceed expectations by going above and beyond expectations through a combination of determination, having a results-oriented mindset along with the skills to manage necessary tasks, resources, processes, and systems. A number of this book's chapters offer you specific advice on doing all of these things well. But there's one skill which comes first and is the most essential, to ensure that the actual goals are created well, that they're both clearly stated and are optimally challenging. Put it into action. Get buy-in and agreement. No matter whether your goals are referred to as key performance indicators, KPIs, targets, or milestones, they need to be clearly stated, understood, and agreed upon by everybody who will be involved in achieving them. To achieve this buy-in, you need to be ready to listen, communicate, negotiate, and compromise with all relevant parties. This includes with your boss, who might impose some targets on you and your team but which are totally out of reach. You may need to push back and negotiate more acceptable goals and targets. Cascade goals down to your team. You also need to carefully take any company-wide goals and agree which of these involve you and your team. You need to create and agree any necessary team-wide and individual team member goals which are aligned with the company's. Set challenging, specific goals. It's a good idea to make the goals for each of your individual team members slightly larger than they need to be, so that the sum of the individual targets exceeds the overall team or department target. Do this so that the chances of you and your team exceeding the overall targets are increased even when some of your team may fall short on their individual targets. Create and agree SMART goals. Specific goals are more easily understood, accepted, and achieved. Measurable. Each goal must be measurable but in terms of how well your team is doing in working towards achieving it. Achievable and attainable. The resources including time and people must be made available to enable you and your team to achieve the goal. Realistic. A goal should never be impossible to achieve. Timely. There must be an understanding and agreement on a goal's timeframe and the deadlines for attaining it. 46. Put the right people in the right roles. Don't force that square shape into a round hole. You will rarely have the ideal number of staff, each with the perfect mix of soft and hard skills. As a result, you must constantly juggle workloads, priorities and tasks with the available manpower and work with the available talent at your disposal by successfully navigating all kinds of people-related issues. A. You struggle to fill a key position, perhaps an important technical or specialized sales role, and after a few weeks of interviewing and rejecting unsuitable candidates, you're only left with one possible candidate. The problem is that that person only fulfills about 70% of the job's technical requirements. B. You face a similar issue with your boss, who is urging you to accept a colleague from another department to fill a vacant key role within your team. You know that this individual has a reputation for being very selfish and is a poor team player. C. Facing a hiring freeze. You can't hire additional staff to work on a new project, and your only option is to ask your existing and very busy team members to learn and take on the new project's tasks. D. Within your team, some people are struggling and seem totally unsuitable for their particular job roles. They may not be very sales, finance or details-oriented and so on. You must decide whether to replace them, knowing it will be costly to make them redundant, and try to hire replacements. Successful leaders recognize these dilemmas are not easy to solve. They always try to arrive at ideal outcomes, no matter how difficult or time-consuming it will be. They understand the need for compromises but know that leaving anyone doing work that is not a good fit will always lead to a combination of performance and motivation issues. Put it into action. Accept compromises with a plan to fill the gaps. Sometimes trying to turn squares into circles will work. One of your team learns to cope with some new and challenging tasks, or a weak job candidate you hire works very hard to overcome their weaknesses. But often you'll not be so fortunate and must be creative in how you face each case of not having the right person in the right role. You can only master this over time by facing and learning from many cases. Let's start by exploring how to deal with the 4 examples from the previous page. A. If you do choose to hire the final candidate who only fulfills 70% of the ideal skill set, plan how to help her plug the 30% gap. This might involve working with your HR colleagues to create a training needs analysis and provide intense technical skills training. In addition, you might spend time mentoring her and asking her colleagues to help her with tasks she is not yet expert in. B. With the internal candidate who is poor team player, be very careful if you accept him into your team. Be firm in explaining to him your expectations and concerns, and then offer to spend time coaching and supporting him to overcome his weak areas in terms of collaborating, sharing and interacting. C. With the new project example, brainstorm with your team how you can all work smarter to manage the extra workload productively without burning out. Encourage them to write daily to-do lists, spend less time on non-essential tasks, and to more proactively support each other. D. With your poor performers, once you have exhausted all available options to improve their performance, bite the bullet and let them go. Perhaps you could help them transfer internally to take on job roles that are more suited to their skill sets and preferences. Otherwise, you must be ready to give them notice and fire them. 47. Coach your team carefully. Help your team arrive at their own answers and conclusions. Giving your team advice and solutions every time they seek your help can seem like the obvious thing to do. There is, indeed, a time and place for using this very directive leadership style, particularly when someone new has joined your team and needs lots of guidance, there's a crisis, and your quick decisions and orders are needed to solve an urgent client problem or another emergency situation. Your team must tackle a new and complicated task or project, and only you have the expertise. However, this must never become your only style when helping your staff solve their problems, because when you're giving them answers and being so directive, they're not learning to think for themselves, and many will feel they're being spoon-fed and become frustrated, while others might enjoy being able to sit back and leave you to do the thinking for them. You might be giving your team incorrect answers. This may be because you are misunderstanding their problems or issues, and the consequences of your poor advice might have serious consequences. Successful leaders know when to adopt different styles of conversations, and sometimes they adopt a coaching style which involves not providing any answers and solutions, but focuses on asking questions to help colleagues explore and understand their own issues and arrive at their own solutions and answers. You might recall that in Chapter 22 you began to learn about coaching. Put it into action. Have grow conversations when your team face challenges and problems. Help them to find their own solutions by following a framework known as the GROW model, first created by a coach named John Whitmore. Goal: start by exploring what the problem, issue, question or challenge is that needs addressing. Ask questions such as, what exactly is the issue, and why are you trying to focus on it today? Why does the issue need solving, and what might be a successful resolution? Reality: help your colleague explore the context, history and background of the issue, through posing questions such as, for how long has this been an issue, and who else is aware of it? Have you tried resolving it before, and what happened? Options: when you're both clearer on the issue and its context, impact and background, start exploring the options available for solving it by asking, if you were alone without my help, what would you do to solve it? Do you have a preferred option or many ideas in mind? Or are you stuck without a clue of how to move forward? Way forward: once you have helped your colleague to digest and weigh up any possible options, bring your conversation to a close by asking, what will you do now? Which option will you proceed with? What help or support do you need to implement your chosen way forward? At the options phase of your GROW conversation, and only after the other party has shared their own options, do offer to share any additional ideas based on your insights and experience. Share them, but don't tell the person which option is best, and instead help them to reach their own conclusions. 48 Persist when others give up. How tragic to turn back and, through clearing skies, you realize that you had been so close to the mountain's summit after all. Too many leaders give up just short of achieving their plans, goals or dreams, thinking that they have exhausted all avenues, hit dead ends and used up all of their ideas, energy and resources. Successful leaders never throw in the towel so quickly. Instead, they persist, knowing that any goal worth achieving is not going to be easy. In today's fast-changing and disruptive VUCA business environment, where businesses are struggling to adapt and even survive, we should not be surprised if our goals and targets can seem more challenging than in the past and may even seem impossible to achieve. As a result, the tendency to want to give up will be high, and even successful leaders might struggle to remain persistent and keep going. In addition to helping achieve business goals, not giving up too easily can also benefit your career. According to a 1985 research paper, more persistent leaders tend to be viewed more favorably. The author of the paper, U.S. academic professor Laura M. Graves, found that leaders who exhibited persistence were evaluated and rated more highly than non-persistent leaders. This makes sense, and I am sure that you too have more admiration and respect for colleagues who show more willingness to persist and never give up, compared to those who more easily quit. Put it into action. Develop your determination muscles. Build up your persistence by developing your willpower and determination. Constantly remind yourself and your team why a goal is important for you and your organization. Try discussing and visualizing the positive impacts and benefits of achieving that particular goal. Avoid being distracted by things you can't control. Instead, focus your energy on those tasks that you and your team can influence and change. Don't allow negative or demotivated people to affect you. A large goal can easily seem too daunting and difficult to achieve compared to smaller ones. Break down any longer-term and larger goals into a series of smaller ones. Celebrate achieving each of these smaller goals to help motivate you and your team as you work towards the larger goal or target. Ask a trusted colleague to hold you accountable and encourage you to stay the course, speaking with them when you're doubting yourself and feeling tempted to give up with a piece of work. You, in turn, can provide the same support to your own team members. And recognize when you should give up. Your newfound willpower and persistence should only be used when needed and not all the time. Sometimes you really do need to give up and stop chasing a goal when it's clearly no longer achievable or your priorities have changed and that goal is no longer relevant. 49. Control yourself. If you want to quickly fail as leader, simply start losing your cool. You would become very irritated if your oven had no temperature control and would randomly leave your food under or overcooked. Just as you would be frustrated if your fridge had a broken thermostat leaving you with rotten food one day and solid and frozen milk the next. We feel the same when a colleague has no self-control, and it's even worse when it's the leader because anything they say or do can have a large impact on so many people.